Yo guys, this is Reinhardt, and this video is gonna be about the purge oriented spec for Unholy DKs. First of all, the spec is actually very strong against the Restoration Shamans, Disc Priests, Restoration Druids, Frost Mages, and any other spec that requires a heavy purge. It's decently strong against the Holy Paladins. I think it's a little bit weaker for against the Monks. But again, like I said, it depends what kind of DPS are running and what can you purge as well. The spec is very simple. You're running with a Glyph of Icy Touch, and you usually run with a Chillblains or Asphyxiate, other two talents. And Chillblains are by all means are not bad at all. And then you're running with Necrotic Plague. Remember previously I said that Necrotic Plague is usually a DPS loss for us? Well, it is. But in this case, played properly, Necrotic Plague can actually be a huge DPS gain for us. And I kinda have mathematics to back it up. Gotta love math. So, the spec is very simple. It involves you doing the Icy Touch into a Festering Strike, into a Plague Strike to build up that stacks, into a Coil, into another Festering Strike to finish up and prolong the duration for your Necrotic Plague. And then you can spam Scourge Strikes, you can do Chain, last Death Coil, and basically you are at 15 stacks ramp up time in about 10 to 12 seconds. It's actually very strong to build up your stacks. One thing about the Necrotic Plague, it's actually pretty strong when you get all your offensive procs. And Necrotic Plague gets up to 12k crit hits every 2 seconds, or it actually ticks for 8k at the very least. Right now it's ticking for 5k because we're not in PvP combat, because you get an item level scaling up. So overall, Necrotic Plague is a DPS loss because your diseases on average do about 4.7k damage, while Necrotic Plague does about 2.7k on average, which is basically about 15% DPS loss. But I got up to 4.6 to 4.7k damage as Necrotic Plague, which was over 50% DPS increase on your dots with this spec alone. But the spec also requires you to sacrifice some of the Blood Bowls, some of the Scourge Strikes into a Festering Strikes to prolong the duration. But overall, the spec is outstanding. And let's look at the quick footage for 2v2. Any Unholy DK who faced a Retribution Paladin and a Disciplined Priest knows that they would rather actually cut their dick off with a rusty knife than actually face the scum. It's miserable because based on how much pills they do and how much sustained damage they do. But with a Disc Priest running with the Icy Touch, you build up your Necrotic Plague very fast. On top of it, you purge his shield, you purge a lot of his shields as well. And right now, look how many he put a Pain Sap on the Red Poly. And remember guys, that our Soul Reaper can be used at 45%, so spam it as much as possible. Every time a Disc Priest tries to actually save up his Paladin via bubbles, guess what happened? I would literally purge that bubbles and apply Soul Reapers for the consistent pressure. And with a good amount of CC chain onto the Disc Priest, Paladin was forced to bubble. Now the fight was actually relatively long because, you know, you're fighting a red Paladins. So we did a good amount of the most glorious mechanic dampening. But anyway, so like I said, the spec is very good because it forces Disc Priest to actually cast as much as possible, which makes them vulnerable to focus interrupts, focus kicks, and crisis chain as well. So, and because you can put out the Soul Reapers on a consistent basis, those shields will actually do very little of them. Now, on the other hand, the spec is relatively weak against the comps that can dispel your dots very effectively. But on the other hand, it also, okay, I pay charge that fear right now. Soul Reaper 1, Soul Reaper 2, and look at the consistent ticks by Necrotic Plague. Necrotic Plague is actually gonna finish him off right here. I got up to 12k Necrotic Plague ticks, and it was glorious. Hashtag math is awesome. So, on average, Necrotic Plague without a lot of good self-maintenance is actually gonna tick for 2.7k. That's an average tick, minimum and maximum combined. Both diseases tick for about 4.7. Because Necrotic Plague ticks every 2 seconds instead of 3, we basically take 2.7 1000 damage of necrotic average tick, multiplied by 50%, because it ticks every 3 seconds now, and we will get necrotic plague DPS every 3 seconds is 4050, where both diseases tick for about 4.7k. So on average it is a DPS loss for about 15% total. Basically, with a new build, your average necrotic plague ticks ranges actually a lot, from 3400 to 4600, while both diseases still tick for 4.7k. And again, it's an average for every single arena match and RBGs that I actually played, without any PvE inherited or dealt with. So necrotic plague will tick every 3 seconds with a DPS of 5100 to 6900. It's anywhere from 10 to 50% DPS actually gain. But what I found out in this build, it's all about them festering strikes. Once you build up to 15 stacks, you need to prolong the duration of necrotic plague via festering strikes, and then once you get about 10 seconds to maybe 14 seconds on necrotic plague, and you have a diseases, death runes going, then all you do is you enrage your ghoul, you pop your activated trinket, and at the same time you stack up a lot of scourge strikes into their ass. And what happens is your necrotic plague with all the procs plus the scourge strikes will actually provide a lot of single target damage during that time. And I will make a really good constructive pressure master guide video about this spec and Unholy in general in about a month, once I think I'm gonna master Unholy DK by myself and actually learn insides and out of it, because I did take a long break and I need a little bit more time, guys. But thanks a lot for watching, and до свидания.